Recording started. So still students joining. So please, guys, if you everybody join at least 5 minutes early, so that we can avoid this wait. Please mute a microphone. Dolapo, I see you are in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What you can do is that you go to the GoToMeeting panel on the right hand side. There's a green microphone button. You click on
Okay.
that to mute yourself. Thanks. All right. So today we are going to start with advanced T-SQL. Let's get that one started. All right. The topics we are going to cover in advanced T-SQL is rank functions.
Yeah. Before you go too far, you have said yesterday we didn't finish what we were to finish before
Well,
we
we
move
have to
into
cover two
advanced.
more. Yeah, we need to cover two more functions. We will do that. Let's get started with advanced T-SQL, and as we move on, we'll be covering those two, len and replicate. Those are the two functions we still need to cover.
Okay.
Derived tables, pivot, and then common table expression. Then what else? Common table expression, grouping set. Then sequence. Then lag and lead. All right, so these are the things we are going to cover today, and most likely half session, half in next session as well. All right, so let me check. Okay, so let's take a look at what the rank function is. So my requirement is that I want to display each salesperson. Please mute a microphone, a lot of noise. Please mute a microphone. Kareem, you can mute a microphone.
Yes, I will mute it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, my requirement is that I want to find all the salespersons and their sales information for the current year, and I want to sort salespersons based on their certain attributes. Let's say based on their sales year to date, or some other criteria. So if I want to see all the salesperson, so select star. So let me write the requirement first. Sonia, you have been unmuted. Isbula and Chima. All right. So list all sales persons with their sales performance, with their sales numbers for current year. Okay. All right. So that's very simple. Select star from sales dot salesperson. All right. So this is salesperson ID, the corresponding territory, and their sales year to date. Right. Now, what I want is that I want to now rank this salesperson based on their sales year to date. Now, if I want to sort, if I want to rank based on the salesperson's performance, then the only thing I need to do is I need to sort everything based on sales year. I want to order everything based on sales year to date, descending order, so that the salesperson with the best performance or the maximum sales is going to be at the top, right? I don't want to see all the columns here. I want to display salesperson ID. Then I want to display his territory ID, and then his sales year to date. And I believe that is fair enough. All right, so now I need to display salesperson based on their performance. I want to rank salesperson, or I want to order salesperson based on their performance. Then it will be very simple, order by year to date, sales year to date in a descending order. That the best salesperson is going to be at the top. All right, so that is going to be salesperson ID 276 is the best one, and you can see that. Now, if I want to, well, I'm okay with this, but I want to provide some kind of a rank, a sequence ranking for these salespersons based on their sales year to date. Do you think this number, this sequence number this listed here, is it part of the record set? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is not part of the record set.
No.
That is
No.
the SQL Server Management Studio thing, right? The record is only three columns. But what I'm asking you is how I can put a dynamic column here, the fourth column, with a ranking number. So the ranking number means salesperson ID 276 should have a rank of 1, 285 will have a rank of 2. I want to generate the number like that. So if you want to dynamically generate a sequence number, you need to use rank functions. So what is a rank function? Rank function is there are 4 type of rank functions. The functionality of rank function is it is going to generate a kind of a sequence number. So that is a rank function is. So the various rank functions are row number. Row number is 99.9%. We are going to use the row number. Row number. The second one is rank itself is a rank function. Then we have dense rank and then entile. So these are the 4 rank functions available. All right, we are going to investigate what is each of these are. Now, if I want to display, now forget about the sales year to date. Okay, I want to include all the four functions here based on certain parameter, and then I want to compare the difference between each of this rank function. Then I will continue with this requirement. So I'm going to include the 4 rank function here. I'm going to explain the syntax. Okay, I'm going to include the 4 rank functions here and sorted based on territory ID. Just a second, let me make some minor changes here. Now, so this is the row number, this is a rank, this is the dense rank, and this is the entile. Now you can see all the okay. Now, if I execute this statement, now you can see the record set here, the salesperson ID, the territory ID, and sales year to date, everything is fine. Now, this is the dynamic columns generated as a result of each of these rank functions. Now, if you look at that sequence number generated in the row number column is actually the result of this statement. All right. So if you look at that row number, the row number column generated, can you tell me how these numbers are assigned? Why salesperson ID 268 is having a value of 1? Why?
Because it has the highest number of sales.
No.
Number of row index number.
It's just like the other role that the SQL automatically gives, just numbering what is there.
On what basis?
Numbering it in ascending order.
Ascending order of what? Ascending order of?
Result.
Of salesperson.
No.
Result record.
No.
Is it identity column?
No. It is based on the territory
Salesperson ID.
The territory ID. Territory ID. Now, the reason why it is displayed that these numbers are assigned in the order in which the territory column are, because you can see that along with the row number function, I say over in bracket order by territory ID. So the row number function is going to generate a sequence number. Okay, the row number function is going to generate a sequence number, and that's a sequence number you are seeing here. Now, these sequence numbers are assigned to records based on whatever order by you specify here. So because I'm saying that, okay, order everything based on the territory. So when you are performing an order by close, if you have a null value, the null value is always going to be at the top, right? So those salesperson without any assigned territory will have a value of 1, 2, and 3. Does that make sense? then which is going to be
Yes.
the next territory. Territory ID 1 is going to be it is going to be by default territory ID ascending order, right? So it is going to be 1. There are 3 salesperson working for territory ID 1. So those guys will get the next sequence numbers 4, 5, and 6. All right. Then what is going to be the next
Daniel,
territory? Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
The row number, is it always gonna be unique, or is there any chance to be duplicate?
It is going to be duplicated. The row number, there are 4 rank functions, right? One of the first one is the row number. Row number is cannot be duplicated. It's always going to be a sequence number incremented by 1. You won't find a duplicate value in the row number output.
Okay. And one more question is in the record number 5. As you can see, the sales year to date, its value is 0. I'm not sure. It's 0.00.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure why is it even there, because we right now we are ordering it by on the from after the from statement.
We don't have an
We're
order.
ordering it by the.
We don't have an order by clause.
Oh, okay.
We remove that order by
Oh,
clause.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Daniel,
Yes.
Yeah. What is
sorry,
row
I
number?
came in late. I just want to know what functions are we doing today? I'm sorry, I wasn't here on time.
Well, we are talking about we started with advanced T-SQL. We are talking about the rank functions.
Okay.
What about row number 284? It still is null. Why you make row
Because
number 1?
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
certainly possible that a salesperson can access without a territory. So these are the 268, 284, and 288 are salesperson without an assigned territory. That's why the territory column is null. So a salesperson can exist without a assigned territory. That is what it means. And then
So
when you are,
the row number can be, number 2 can be number 1, right?
you cannot, because the way SQL Engine assigned this row number is based on the order by territory ID ascending order. That's what the order by you specify here, right? So the way what I'm trying to say is that the way this row number is going to be assigned is based on the order by clause listed next to that. So the rank function will always comes with a order by clause, and that order by clause will decide how that sequence number is going to be generated. In this case, it is going to be generated based on territory ID. Now, if you want to generate this row number based on sales year to date, let me comment out this, okay, the other ones. So if you think that, okay, I want to rank the employees based on their sales performance, then I can say order by, and then I want to display the best salesperson at the top, then I need to say sales year to date descending. Now let's take a look. Now you can see that the salesperson with the highest sales, he's having a value of row number value of 1, then 2, 3, and then if you go all the way down, the 17th salesperson is having the lowest sales, which is 0. So he's having a company-wide, he's in the 17th position. Who is the number 1 salesperson? The salesperson ID 276. He belongs to the territory ID 4. He's having the highest sales, so he's assigned a row number value of 1. Okay?
Daniel,
Yes.
near when you use the row number function, it's the sequence number default is increment by 1, but
Yes.
if you want to do it like by 2 or
No,
3,
you cannot do that. It's always going to sequence number is always going to be incremented by 1. The output of the row number is going to be a sequence number, and it's always going to be incremented by 1.
Okay.
Daniel?
Yes.
So whatever the case is, the row number never change it. I mean, the sequence.
No, it is always
You know
going to
what
be
I'm saying?
incremented by 1.
Daniel, if my requirement is I want to know the second highest cell.
Well, we are getting there. If you want to find the second highest salesperson, third highest salesperson, yes, we can figure that out very shortly. Okay. We need to use the derived table. Ronnie, you have been unmuted. All right, so let's continue here. Now, let me execute this. I put that rank, dense rank, and entile back. Now, if I execute this, now everything is based on the territory ID. Now, if you look at, so we know that the output of the raw number is based on the tertiary ID ascending order, and it is going to be a sequence number. Now, what do you think about the output of the rank function? This is the output of the rank function. How the rank function is assigned?
If the territory ID is 1, then rank is 1.
Those
3 times.
salespersons with the same territory will have same value, right? Those
Yes.
salesperson without any territory, well, those guys is having a rank of 1. Those 3 with a territory ID 1 is having a rank of 4. Why rank of 4?
Because 1, 2, 3 is assigned already to the first 3
No,
salesperson.
it's more like the relative position. If you go for the rank, the output of the rank is going to be the first. What is going to be the relative position of the first record in that group? What is the relative position of the first record in this tertiary ID 1 group? What's the relative position of the first record in
4.
that 4, right?
4.
4. So the rest of the records in that same group will have the same value.
Sorry, I'm not getting.
We have 3 records in a tertiary ID 1 group, right? And what is the relative position of the first record in that group? The 4th record, right?
You mean we have to check the row number?
You don't need to. The SQL engine will check what is the relative position of the first member in that group. That is 4. So that is the reason why the rest of that particular record and other records in that same group will have a value of 4. If you look at the 7th one, well, this is the tertiary ID 2, and there's only one element that is the 7th record, and the relative position is 7. So that is going to be 7. Now my question
So
is,
we have to look for the last one index.
well, you don't need to look for it. The SQL engine will automatically figure that out for you.
Okay.
Now, if I have an 18th record here with a different territory, what would be the value for the rank? If I have an 18th record, that's going to be 18, right?
18, yeah.
And what is going to be the value for the row number then?
18.
That's also going to be 18. Okay, great. Now, how about the dense rank? How values are assigned to the dense rank?
It's still based on the territory, but this time around, this time around you have to do like after the first 3 numbers in the group, it's ranked over in group. The numbers after that is sequenced in another group.
Right. It is not looking for the relative position of the first record in that group. It is always going to be incremented by 1. So the first group is having a value of 1. The second group is having a value of 2. The third group is having a value of 3. So if I have an 18th record here with a different territory ID, what would be the value for the dense rank?
12.
12. Okay, wonderful.
Daniel?
Yes.
Can you please repeat the function of rank? I mean, I didn't get the point.
The rank is, it is always going to generate a sequence number, and the sequence number is the distribution of that sequence number is going to be what is the relative position of the first record in that group. The relative position, the example is this one. What is going to be, this is the group, right? This is the one group which consists of 3 records. This group is the tertiary ID 1 group. What is the relative position of the first record in that group? What is the relative position of the first record in that group?
4.
4, right? So the first one is having a 4, and rest of the members in that group will have a value of 4. Hold on, Praveen. Ronnie, I thought that Ronnie, you are unmuted somehow. I missed it. All right, Ronnie and Praveen, you both are unmuted. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Now, how about the tile? How do you?
Okay, once again, can you just explain dense rank?
Dense rank is pretty much the same. Each group is having its own sequence value, but the only difference is that the only difference between rank and dense rank is dense rank, it is going to be the relative position of the first record in that group, but in the case of dense rank, it is not the relative position. Whatever the previous value for the dense rank in the previous group, just add 1 to that. The previous value for the dense rank in the previous group is 1. So for the next group, it is going to be 3. The next group, it is going to be the next group, it is going to be 2. Then it is going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, keep on. So it's always going to be an incremental one. All the records in the same group will have a similar value, but that increment is going to be a sequence increment. incremented by.
But actually, what is the purpose of having this in SQL?
Well, I mean, if you want to,
Can you just
yes, I mean, if you want to, I mean, the usability or where we can use this, I'm going to discuss that very shortly. Okay, there are situations where you need to group the record and then you want to retrieve a specific group. That is when this rank function is going to be used. That is going to be the second stage where we can use all these rank functions.
Okay, so the raw number will be exactly the same as what it's showing on the left side?
Yes, because again, left side, it is not part of the record set. That's for the SQL Server management sphere, but it is all, I mean, whatever you have on the left-hand side is same as the what in the row number, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel?
Yes?
Just a question. I think the person before who asked the question, I kind of had a similar question about how the usability is about this. But the second aspect is how, what are the chances of these kind of things being in the interview?
Oh, yes. I mean, the rank, the row number, I mean, out of this 4, the 99% of the time you'll be using the row number function. You very rarely you come across a situation where you need to use rank, dense rank, and tile. But there are, definitely this is going to be an interview question and certification question too. You are going to use the row number a lot.
Can you give me an example, like how can they word a question, or give us an example of a question?
The common question is, what is the difference between a rank and a dense rank? And what is how? Let me explain this tile too, and then I will answer, because there is one question from the tile function, in tile function too. Let me finish this, okay? All right. So if you look at the output of the n tile, can you tell me how these values are generated?
My understanding is because you have the enter, the script you wrote like that, it's numbered 4, so I think it has to be grouped into 4. However, I don't understand why number 1 has 5. It's grouped into 5, 1, 2, 3,
why
4.
the number 1 is having 5, rest of the group is having only 4. The reason is, so what when you say n-tile, you are the SQL n-tile of 4. N-tile of 4 means you are trying to divide this 17 records into 4 groups. Okay, so you are going to have a group of 1 value, a group of 2 values, another group of 3 values, and another group of 4 values. But when you're trying to divide 17 by 4, it is not completely divisible. There is going to be one remainder, right?
True.
That remainder is going to be in the first group. That's the reason why group number 1 is having 5 records, rest of the group is having 4 records. Okay. Now, if I divide this to 3, okay, so how many reminders?
2.
So let's take a look. So we can see there are 3 values here, and the last value is having how many records? 5. Sorry, the last one is having 5. The one before that is also having 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
6.
Right?
Having 6.
Now 6. And this one is also having 6. So if you have 2 reminders, whatever the reminder available, that is going to be evenly distributed across the first n number of groups. Now we have 2 reminders. So group number 1 is getting 1, and group number 2 is also getting 1. So that's the reason why group 1 and group 2 is having 6 records, and the last group is having 5 records. Okay. All right. So the question, interview question, is the difference between rank and dense rank. That's why I keep repeatedly explaining what is that rank and dense rank. And then the second question is, what will happen to the reminder record when you perform an n-tile? The reminder record in an n-tile always assigned to the first n number of groups.
Daniel, I have a question.
Yes.
On the n-tile class, we said that we need 3 groups or 4 groups. What happens if we don't say the number of the groups?
You need to specify the n-tile. The input parameter is a required one. If you execute this without an input parameter, it is going to generate an error. You need to specify a parameter. That means how many groups, how many different categories you want to divide the records.
All right, and one more thing is, as we saw that whatever the remainder is, it always goes in the first one or two groups.
Right.
Is there any chances or is there any possibilities to group the remainders at the bottom of the groups? Is there any ascending or descending order for entire?
You cannot do that. It's always going to be the first n number of groups. You cannot customize it in such a way that, okay, you cannot tell the SQL engine, okay, put those reminder records on the last n number of groups. It is not possible.
Okay.
So if the value is 0,
the value is 0.
If the value is 0 instead of 4, there won't be any grouping, right? It will be just as 1, 2, 3, or.
You mean 0?
Yeah.
It's not an valid input.
Oh, okay.
It has to be a positive integer. That's what the RMSA say. It has to be a positive integer.
It can be 1.
Daniel, one more question.
You can go for
think, 1. You can say that if we put n tile in 3, then it will divide in 3 groups, right? It will divide in 3 groups.
Yes, it is going to be into 3 groups, yes.
And if we do a 4, then it will divide in 4 groups. The total string, if we have just here we have 1 to 17. If we have 1 to 15, then it will divide in 4, like 1 to 50. If we have a 1 to 15, then it's like dividing by 4, or
that
it
means
will divide.
If you are saying that if we have total of 15 records, and then n tile of 4 means you are trying to divide it into 4, right? So 15 divided by 4, that is going to be 12, and 3 reminders. So there is going to be 3 groups, and the first 3, and then it is going to be 3 groups. And what is going to be the reminder? The reminder is going to be evenly assigned to the first n number of records. Yes.
First 3.
Daniel, quick questions. On this row number thing, you say it goes increment by 1 and it refers to the number, but how does it decide which goes first when they have like the similar number? Because it looks like it's not. I mean, nothing is going like going ascending or descending.
Well, if you see multiple records in the same group, for example, this one, or let's take a territory ID 1. Territory ID 1 is having 3 records. Now you look at this, it is again sorted based on something called it is randomly sorted, because if the number of you have multiple records with the same territory, then it is randomly sorted. There is no specific order. But if you want to specify an order, if you have multiple records with the same territory and then you want to resort it based on some other column, you can definitely say, for example, I want to sort it based on sales year to date or person ID. Let's go for the sales person ID. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that here.
Right. I mean, when you don't have like the second criteria, I mean, how does it sort it out?
Well, if you don't specify the second column, then it is going to be randomly sorted. There's no specific.
So the next time when I run this query, the sort order might change, right? I mean,
right.
The row number might.
Because I added this sales ID. Yeah, yes. I mean, it is going to be changing.
Yeah. Now it makes sense when you have the second criteria, but if there's no criteria at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Daniel. Yeah, you use dynamic. You use dynamic column here, right?
Yes, these all are dynamic. These the output. This is the output. Whatever the column you see here, these are the output of those functions, which is a dynamic column. Yes.
Yeah, I saw the territory ID column. Then I saw the row number again. When you have changed it from the regular column to the dynamic, that's confusing. I don't know how you did that. The first row from the query, you said over row number, then bracket over order by territory ID as row number. So when you use dynamic, you have already changed the territory ID from its original name to row number, right?
Well, it's not, the row number is not the original name. It is actually, row number is a function. It has nothing to do with the column. So now the question is, what would be, so if I take this one out, okay, and then execute this, then that particular column is listed as no column name. So this is the output of the row number, and then you can specify whatever value you want as the, I can say row number or whatever it is.
Okay, got you now. Thank you.
All right, now,
Daniel?
yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah. As we saw that on entile, we can put parameter number for the group number however we want. Is there any way for row number? Like I
No.
see the parentheses, row
The
number.
only function, the only rank function which can accept a parameter is the entile. The row number, rank, and dense rank cannot accept a parameter.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Now,
Daniel,
yes.
One person asked a question that if you have 15 records in an entile, right? Then and if we are passing the 3 parameter in that one, so the group in the what it will group in the 4 or it will in the 3 part.
3. It is going to 15. So if you say it's 15 records, and then if you say entile of 3, that's going to be 15 divided by 3. Answer is going to be 4 groups, right?
Yes.
And then 3 reminders. So those 3 reminders will be evenly distributed across the first 3 groups.
How it answer will be 4? It will be 5.
It will be 5, yeah. Correct.
If I have 15 records, and then if we go for 3, then that is going to be 15 divided by 3, right?
That's 5.
Yeah, that's 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is completely. I'm sorry. Seems like I did not attend my math class. Yeah, so it's 5. Yeah, so it is completely divisible. So there is no reminder. Yes, it is. Each one is going to have a record of 5. Each group. Sorry about that. All right. So now I put my original requirement back. List all the salesperson with the sales number for the current year. All right. So I want to sort it based on the sales year to date. And this is going to be the descending order. And this is going to give me each salesperson's rank. So I'm going to call this one as salesperson rank. Okay. And if I execute this, you get an idea who is the number 1, number 2, number 3, etc. Right? But if my requirement is, I'm okay with this, but the company level, irrespective of the territory, who is the number 1 salesperson, that is going to be a salesperson ID 276, right? Now, who is the 10th best salesperson? That is going to be salesperson ID 289. Now, my requirement is that I want to find the rank of each salesperson in their respective territory. We have already seen that one territory can have multiple salesperson, right? You have in the previous example, you have seen that one territory can have multiple salesperson. Now, I don't want to display what is the rank of each salesperson at the company level. I want to display what is the rank of each salesperson at their respective territory. How do I do that?
We order by
territory ID
and sales year to date.
Sales year to date. Okay, so list all the salesperson and their sales rank at their territory. The territory. All right, so what we can do is we need to generate this sequence number. That is for sure, right? We need to generate the sequence number for sure. Now, I want to generate that sequence number for individual territory. I want to generate the sequence number for individual territory. Now, how you can generate sequence number for individual territory? Right now, this sequence number is generated for the entire record set. Am I correct?
Dense rank, I think.
Not the dense rank. We need to use something called as partition by. Okay, so let's take a look. Very simple, but it is a very powerful tool. Now, so if I want to generate the row number or the sequence number for individual territory, what you need to do is that before that order by, you will say partition by territory ID. Let me show you the result. So only modification we made is we added this part we included that part in that before that order by clause. And if you look on that salesperson rank column now, what do you see there? Is it a sequence number across the record set, or is it sequence number? That sequence number get reset for each territory. If you look at the territory, the first group of territory, the salesperson, the first group of salesperson, these are the three salesperson without a territory, right? So who is the number one?
268.
268. Who is the number two? 284. All right. Now, how about the territory ID 1? Who is the number one salesperson in territory 1?
283.
283. So he's having a rank value of 1. Now, these rank values are now generated for individual territory. So when you add this partition by territory ID, it is not going to generate a sequence number from start record, the first record, all the way to the 17th record. Instead of that, what it is going to do, it is going to start the sequence number. Every time it find a new territory, the sequence number will be reset to 1. So it start with 1, 2, 3. On the fourth record, hey, there is a new territory, right? Because a new territory is there, the sequence number reset to 1, 2, 3. Well, the next record, which is this one, we have a new territory. So that is the sequence number reset to 1. Here also it's a new territory. Again, it reset to 1. And here also a new territory reset to 1. But territory number 4 is having 2 salesperson. So 270 person salesperson ID 276 is the number 1. 281 is the number 2. So that is the way it is going to be generated. So the partition by is going to have a lot of effect on how the sequence number is generated. So when you provide a partition by for each new member in that partition column, that sequence number is going to be reset to 1.
Can you just give us a real-time example for a partition by?
Yeah, this is a real-time example. I want to rank the salesperson based on their territory. If that is what your requirement is, this is the easiest thing you can do. You need to use the row number and then you need to partition by territory.
It's almost sounds like a group by. I think. Okay.
It's kind of a group by, and then for each group, it is going to generate the sequence number. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't use the dense rank for this?
You cannot
but
use.
It's kind of similar.
No, the dense rank is not similar. If I go back to the dense rank, well, it is a sequence number. It is never reset to 1. I mean,
so the dense rank, okay, it's not reset.
It is not resetting. So there's no way you can dense rank or rank or row number. None of this function is going to reset to 1 unless you say partition by.
Okay.
Daniel?
Yes.
The partition by, is it does it work with all the row number or rank or dense rank?
Yes.
Does it work with all of them?
It is going to work with all the 4 rank. The functionality is the same. It is going to work with all the whether it's a row number or a rank or dense rank. It is going to work except the entile. Entile has nothing to do with the reset, but the first 3, the row number, rank, and dense rank, in all those 3 cases, you can apply the partition by. And then partition by can also contain multiple columns. Right now we have only using 1 column, but if you want to add 1 more additional columns, definitely you can do that.
Okay, and I have another question. That is, right now the order for partitioning is first is partition by and then order by.
Yes.
Does it affect if it is vice versa?
No,
like
the
first
syntax is going to be whatever that function you want to try over. That's part of the syntax. Open the bracket. If you have a partition by, you need to specify that first, and individual inside each partition how the record need to be sorted. That is the order by clause.
So my question is, if I write order by first and then partition by,
it is going to
will
generate
it?
an error, not a supported syntax.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Daniel?
Yes.
Can you please a short definition about the partition by?
Can you repeat that question again?
A short definition about the partition by.
Partition by is a option you can provide along with the rank functions, and to reset the sequence number to 1. There's no exact definition for partition by. Partition by is a command you can use to reset the sequence number for each new element or each new value for that column you specify in the partition by column. So here the partition by column is the territory ID. So if you say partition by territory ID, then the sequence number is going to be reset to 1 every time it find a new territory ID.
All right, thank you.
So now I want to display both. I want to display the, okay.
Daniel?
Yes.
Can we add the another column name in the partition by?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. If you want, you can add additional column. I mean, in this case, if I have more than, if I want to sort or I want to reset the value for each territory, and let's say I have a I have a country code here, then I can, for each territory and country or each territory and state, if I want to do that, then you can definitely do that.
Can you please do for the one column?
What's that?
Can you please add one column and?
Well, in this particular table, we cannot use any additional columns, because then if I do another column, for example, if I add sales year to date, so every combination of territory ID and that sales year to date, it is going to reset the value of reset the value of the sequence number. I mean, I can give you an example, probably something in the next class, but this particular example, I cannot add additional column, but I can tell you what happened when you add an additional column. If you add one more column, for example, let me take this one out, territory ID completely, and then I say column 1 and column 2. So each combination of column 1, each new combination of column 1 and column 2, it is going to reset the value of the sequence number. The combination is what, when you are using two columns along with the partition by, we are looking for the combination. Very rarely we go for more than one column in the partition by, but it is definitely supported.
Okay. Here, Daniel, the territory ID goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. But there was no way we specified that should be ordered by territory ID. So was it possible that it could have a mix of, I mean, not in an orderly fashion, the territory ID?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly perform an order by clause.
Yeah. No, but what I'm asking that now we didn't specify an order by clause, and yet it's ordered.
So now if you don't specify an order by clause, by default it is going to be sorted based on whatever the order by specify in the territory, because we are trying to group everything based on the territory, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a partition by, it is going to group everything based on the territory. So this is going to be the first group. This is going to be the second group. So that is the way it is been ordered now.
Okay.
Daniel, in a second number, can you put row number instead of like what this rank, and then execute the query once?
Which one? The second
rank.
one?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. And execute both. So what's the difference?
It is the same. It is going to, in the case of rank, it is going to be the same. It's going to be based on the territory. And rank over, let me see, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 1, it is pretty much give you the same. If you go for the partition by, so for each partition, let me take this one out, so that will eliminate a lot of confusion. Hold on a second, let me write this same statement one more time. I don't see any difference in for the rank. So if you look at the original rank, it is going to be based on each element is going to have the same value. But if you are using a rank along with the partition, it is pretty much equivalent to a row number, right? If you look at the result, it is going to be same as it's going to behave along with the partition by it is going to. But if I take this one out, let me take this one out. You know what? Do you know why it is so? Because this we are ordering everything based on the sales year to date. That's the reason why. Because the other example, we are sorting everything based on the territory ID, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is the reason. That's the reason. So let me fix that. Partition by, and then I also want to order it everything based on the territory. So let's take a look.
Okay, then it's cute.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, rarely we use the rank. I mean, if you want to partition, then I never used anything other than the row number because that is going to make more sense.
Okay.
So this is going to give the sales, each salesperson's sales rank in their respective territory. Now, one of the student asked me if I want to display, I don't only the number one salesperson in each territory. How do I do that? This is going to give me the rank of each salesperson in their respective territory. I'm fine with that. But my new requirement is I only want to display the number one salespersons in each territory. How do I do that?
Say the same thing with.
I want to display person ID to salesperson ID 268, 283, 275, 277. You know, those are the records I want to display.
Where salesperson rank is equal to 1.
No, derivative.
Can we use fetch clause?
Fetch, then when you're using the fetch clause, you can only specify from which record to which record. You cannot randomly pick records, right? If I say fetch, then I can say from the third record to the fifth record, 15th record. So you can only tell the SQL engine the range.
Right.
You cannot, pick and choose which one you want to go for.
Exactly. Sorry about that.
No. That's good try. All right, hold on a second. Let me list all. List number one sales.
Do you pass in the parameters 1 after the row number basis?
No, that is not going to work. List number one salesperson in each territory. That's what my requirement is. So now, now we are talking about when these rank functions are actually used. So if you get a requirement, say, okay, show me all the number one salesperson in each territory. Now, first of all, we need to rank the salesperson for individual their territory, and now we need to eliminate the unwanted records. Now, this is a dynamic column, right? This is a dynamic column. Can I apply a where clause based on this? Can I say where equals 1? No. You cannot pause. The only place where you can use a dynamic column name is in the order by clause, right? So if you want to filter records based on a dynamic column name, the only option we have, not the only option, there are two options you have. One is the derived table, and the second one is the common table expression. So let's talk about what is the derived table. So derived table is a table inside a select statement inside another select statement. So if I want to convert this into a derived table, it's very simple. You write a select statement on top of this, select star from. Now after the from, you are expecting a table, but if you go for a derived table, then you open the bracket, then this is going to be the inner select statement, and then close the bracket, and then you need to give a name for that derived table. So what happened behind when you execute this statement, first it is going to execute the innermost statement. This is the innermost statement, right? So first it is going to execute this one, and then this record set will be loaded into memory with the name of T1. Now, once it is loaded into memory as T1, then when SQL engine execute the outer select statement, that is equivalent to select start from T1, right?
But this sounds more like a subquery.
It is not a subquery because in the case of subquery, where we use the select statement, we use that as part of the select clause or the where clause. But in the case of a derived table, wherever you can use an actual table, in those places we are using the select statement. So that's a common interview question too. What is the difference between a derived table and a subquery? The only similarity is that both cases it is a select statement inside a select statement. But in the case of subquery, the subquery is going to be that subquery in the select statement is going to be used either part of the where clause or part of the select clause, right? We saw those two examples when we talked about subquery. But in the case of a derived table, you are using that wherever you can use a regular table, in all those places you can use a select statement. And in the case of subquery, you can only return one column back, right guys? You cannot return more than one column, but in the case of a derived table, you can return a number of columns because when you execute when the SQL engine execute the innermost select statement, that record is going to be loaded into memory and with a predefined name, which is called as T1, or you can give whatever name you want. The outer statement is equivalent to select start from T1. But the most important point I want to ask is for T1, the T1 is a derived table. So the derived table T1, do you think salesperson rank is a dynamic column? Let me execute this
For T1, no.
No.
You are seeing the result of the T1 here. For T1, do you think salesperson rank is a dynamic column?
No.
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 So I can say where T1 dot
Salesperson.
ID rank equals 1. Now if I execute this, here you go. I hope now this rank functions makes more sense, right?
Yes.
All right.
I have a question here. Because of the network issue, I actually couldn't hear you properly. In this particular example, can you tell me how it is ordered by, like which one it starts from? The SQL engine. How does it? Where from it starts from? Is it from inside or the
It's
outside?
always the innermost. You can have a derived table inside it. Right now we have only one derived table, but you can provide nested derived tables. A derived table based on another derived table, you can go up to 32 level deep. So like in subquery, the innermost statement get executed first. Then using that result, the next outer statement get executed. Then using that result set, it is going to execute the next outer. So it start from the innermost and goes out.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Daniel.
Yes.
The T1, where did that come from and what does it do exactly? I'm sorry.
Well, the T1 is the name of the, because when you execute this entire statement, first the highlighted select state, the inner statement get executed. The result of that will be loaded into memory with a name called as T1. So the T1 is more like the derived table, which is loaded into the memory, and the name of that derived table is T1.
Okay.
That's a name you gave. You can give whatever name you want.
Perfect.
So now the outer statement is going to be select star from T1.
Okay, Daniel, so
yes.
Do we pass on any parameters in the row number then? What are those brackets for?
No, you are not passing any parameter for the row number function. Which bracket you are talking about? This one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, after the row number, there's an empty bracket,
yeah, I mean,
right?
because the row number is a function, so even if you are not passing any parameter, you still need to put that bracket because it's a function.
Okay,
That's
so
the way you call
we
the
will
function.
never pass any parameters in there, right?
No, a function you can create functions without parameter or with parameter, irrespective of whether there's a parameter or not. You still need to put that bracket.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Sure.
Thank you.
Now, if I want to find the second, the number 2 salesperson, what's the only change I need to make here?
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2. It's very easy, right? Now you see, if there is a second salesperson, then it is going to. So we have only 4 territories with number 2 salesperson, and so it is very easy here. Yes, what's your question?
Daniel?
Yes.
Daniel,
one by one, please.
In the this derived table, we can pass the multiple column name, right? But in the subquery, we cannot do that.
Yeah,
We pass only one
one column. Yes, that is another difference. You cannot compare the subquery and the derived table. It's two different things. But if you really want to make some connection, I would say both are select statements inside select statements, and subquery you can only be used in the where clause and in the select clause. But in the case of derived table, wherever you can use a regular table, in all those places you can use a derived table. And derived table can exist with the multiple columns, but subquery can only exist with the one column.
Okay.
Daniel?
Yes.
Yeah, we are talking about picking the salesperson IDs, and then you were saying salesperson ranked by 1. So can we pick like 4 of them together to like know if it's going to run or something? Is
4
that
of them
possible?
in what criteria? In what basis you want to get the 4?
Because no, when you give us the example, how are you going to put the rank if you want to find it? Let's say if you want to find the salesperson ranks, you say equal to 1. So can we like, I don't know, you want to get the 4 top salesperson's rank. So how are we going to run that? You get what I'm trying to say?
4 salespersons ranks.
4 persons. Let's say want to run the top 4. You get what I'm trying to say?
So she's saying you want to run the top 4 of the salesperson, the first 4 people who made the highest sales.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. The top four guys. Okay, all right. So that you don't need the derived table. You can use. You don't even need to do the partition. I believe you are talking about the top 4 guys at the company level. So you use this one without the partition. So this is going to give everything based on. Let's see. All right, and then you want to only display the 4 guys, right? The top 4. Then you need to say. Here we go.
Okay. Thank you.
Daniel, I have a question.
Well, I mean, it's very interesting to answer that question. You don't really need to do this raw number either. I mean, I can say sales year to date, and then I can say order by sales year to date, descending.
Yeah.
That will satisfy your requirement.
Right. I have a question on the previous example. If you can kindly go there. Over here, if we execute this, we get one of each territory, right?
Right.
So is there any way to rank among those territory who, like, right now we have one from each territory. Is there any way to rank from these result sets?
How you want to rank it? Out of this, okay, yeah, I mean, you can certainly rank it. I mean, if you want to apply, then that's going to be another ranking here. Now, hold on a second. You put a rank for the outer select statement. So now here you want to rank it based on how you want to rank it. You want to rank it based on the sales year to date?
Yeah, sales year to date.
No, we have to say T1.
Well, we are on T1, right? Yeah, T1, right? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was actually asking.
Is it ordering in the proper way? Yeah, I think so, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the company level for those number 1 guys in their respective territory. How it is? What is the rank at the company level? So that is what this particular column says.
Thank you.
No problem.
Daniel?
Yes.
Okay, based on this, can you say 1 instead of 1 equals to, like, if you want to see 1 in the 2 rank, I mean,
1 and 2 rank.
can we with and?
Yeah, I mean you can say that rank equals 1 or rank equals 2, or you can use that in clause and then put, and then you can say 1 comma 2. If you want to display both number 1 and number 2 guys, you can do that.
Yeah.
This one, I have an observation.
Yes.
You know, that last listing you ran, you said that was based on their ranking in the entire company. That might not be entirely true, because though these people were first in their different territories, there might be some other people who came second who actually make more sales.
Well, we are not, because he asked me out of those number one sales guys, he want to sort it based on we are only considering those guys, those 11 guys.
Okay.
I also understand what you are saying. Yes. But his requirement is out of those 11 guys, how we can sort it based on the company level sales performance. That's why.
Okay.
All right. Now my new requirement is I want to find. I mean, I'm okay with all these 11 salespersons, right? Now I want to display all the sales generated by these guys. I want to display all the sales information generated by these guys. How do I do that?
So,
all sales. I mean, I want to display the sales information, like whatever record you have in the sales order header table for individual these 11 salesperson. I want to display that.
Inner join.
Inner join, right? So now the question is, can you inner join a derived table with a persistent table?
No. Yes, T1 with inner join sales that sales order.
Right.
If the derived table has a common column. With
yes.
the right.
That's right. So you can definitely inner join a derived table with another derived table. You can inner join, not inner join, you can join, can be inner join or outer join. You can join a derived table with another derived table. You can join a derived table with a persistent table. All those combinations are possible. So I'm going to show you some example for that. All right. So list number one salesperson in each territory and their sales information. All right, so I'm going to copy. Oh, I did not copy. Copy. All right, so this is our those sales guys. Now, if I want to include the sales information, well, it is going to be inner join sales dot sales order header table, right? I'm going to call it as sh sales order on sh dot salesperson ID. All right. So each salesperson, each sales information, each sales, I'm going to the adventure work is storing which salesperson responsible for generating that sales. So that's why we could able to see the salesperson equals sh dot salesperson ID equals
T1.
T1, right? T1 dot salesperson ID. And you can either use this where condition here, or as we have seen, as we have discussed, this where clause can be upgraded to the join criteria. Yeah, you can put an and that. It's up to you. I mean, not a big deal. All right. So now if I execute this, it is going to display all the salespersons and their corresponding sales.
Daniel.
And I want to sort it based on, let's say I want to sort it based on the salesperson ID.
Daniel, I have a question.
Yes.
So the inner join clause was used to add the sales order header for the sales?
Yes.
Okay. And that's basically adding additional information.
Right. We want to display, I mentioned that I want to display the sales information for all these 11 number one guys. So that's the reason for the sales information is stored in the sales order header table. So that's the reason why I included that sales order header table there.
But it gives, maybe it's some problem because it's give 3040 rows.
Right. So those 11 guys generated 3040 sales so far. If you look at salesperson ID 268, you can see the various sales generated. These are the sales generated by person ID 268. So I mean, definitely a salesperson can generate a number of sales, right?
Yes,
That's
because rank is also one.
right. All right. So we are making some progress here. We are doing step by step. All right. So now, so we did an inner join between a derived table and a persistent table. Let me see how my students are doing. Some of you are quiet. Devin,
Daniel, just a personal comment. I appreciate how you are explaining it step by step, making sure every step is given at the perfect time. I mean, you make it very clear.
Oh, thank you. That is how, I mean, that's why I always say SQL programming is like mathematics. You do step by step, okay? Until you become, an expert, you can start writing the statement straight away. All right. So now the next thing is.
Question, please.
Yes.
The sales ID, the salesperson ID 268. That's the only person I'm seeing you generated.
Oh no. You mean
in a join for? I don't see anyone. Is there? Oh, sorry about that.
There's a lot of records out there. Well, one of the requests.
So is the sales order header another table?
Sales order header is another table. Yes.
Okay. All right.
So these columns, if you look at this, these 4 columns are from T1 derived table, and rest of the columns are from sales order header table.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Daniel.
Yes.
The database we're using, I mean, the adventure tools we're using, that's your own version, right? Not the regular one.
That's not. I mean, there are. If you look at, if you search for Adventure Work database, you will see 50, 60 different versions. Now, the one which I'm using, it is not highly normalized because it is really hard to teach on a highly normalized database starting from the scratch. So I use my own customized version of Adventure Work, but you can download the 2016 version of Adventure Work. Again, some of the statements might not work and the table structure is completely different because it's highly normalized.
Okay.
Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah, the T1 table, I know the SQL Server is going to keep on memory, but I was wondering how long it's going to keep. As long as your session is running, or?
That's a good question. How long? What is the scope of this? What is the lifespan of this T1?
I think it's depend on individual session.
It is only for that select statement. The moment that select statement is executed, that T1 will be removed. So after this select statement, if I refer to that T1, SQL engine has no idea what that T1 is. So the scope of that T1 or the lifespan of that T1 is only for that particular select statement.
So is it something like a temp table?
No, temp table, no, you cannot say, because we have a temporary table. We have a separate thing called as temporary table. That one is, the lifespan is for a section or where it is created. We'll be seeing that temporary table is a separate thing.
But Daniel,
yes.
Individual user have their own session, right? So why is not why is that session gonna end right away?
No, the way the derived table is designed is that derived table is going to be created and can be used for that particular select statement. The moment it is done, it is going to be removed. So, it's more like a variable. It's more temporary. Even if called as a derived table, it's kind of a variable stored in memory with a tabular structure. Once it's used, it's gone.
But there is no way you can write, you store that in a session or like
No, you cannot unless you create a temporary table, not the derived table.
Okay.
We'll be seeing temporary table later. All right, so that is now if I want to include the line item too, if I want to include the line item, you have seen this n number of times. We need to do another inner join, right? Inner join sales order detail SD on SD dot sales order ID equals SH dot sales order ID. So that's going to include all the line items. So the number of records is going to go up because earlier we have only 30, 40 records. Now each of those sales will have multiple line items. So the number went up to 48,302 records. All right. So that is about the derived table. Now the next topic I want to discuss is very similar to what we were discussing so far, which is, well, we are on the derived table. I'm sorry. We are actually on derived table. I forgot to put that line here. So this is the derived table starting from here.
Daniel, just out of curiosity, I have a question. This rank function, when was it introduced?
In 2005.
Do you know?
From
Okay,
SQL Server 2005.
Okay, thank you.
Now, we identified a need for using the derived table. So if you want to filter records, it's a common interview question. If you want to filter records based on a dynamic column, what would be your choice? If I want to filter records based on not any dynamic column, not based on the row number. I mean, if you have a computed column, let's say I create a computed column and then later I want to a dynamic computed column, and based on that I want to do some filtering, you can use a derived table. So at any point, if you want to filter records based on a dynamic column, well, dynamic column name cannot be used as part of the where clause, so you need to make it as a derived table. That's one option. The second option is we can also use another thing called as common table expression, which we'll be seeing in the next session. Now, apart from filtering, apart from using derived table for filtering purpose based on the dynamic column, do you see any other advantage of derived table? Any other advantage for derived table?
You can add another table.
You can add another table.
Another table. Mm-hmm.
Another table in the sense.
We don't have to.
Well, I mean, you don't need to have a derived table. You can otherwise you can all directly add, additional tables to that. I mean, you don't really need a derived table for that.
The one of the advantage using derived table is we don't need to rely on persistent table. We can create table on the go. We are
not
creating. Easier. I mean, not creating. Just for our own purposes, for our help. We're actually making a customized table. We're just like holding out one customized table in our hand and then using it for other purposes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You can add other columns on the same table.
I agree with that.
It can execute both select statements separately.
Separately, that is what I want to hear. Compartmentalization of the code. That is what we officially call. Now, if you write, if you're writing a select statement which consists of 10, 15 different inner joins and outer joins, it is pretty much impossible to execute. For example, I wrote a lengthy select statement with a multiple inner joins and outer joins, and I'm not getting the right result. Now, how do I check the result of individual joins? I'm trying to, in my select statement, I have, let's say I have table 1 to table 6, and all this table 1, table 2, table 3, table 4, 5, and 6 got inner joined, but I'm not getting the result. Now I need to troubleshoot. Now I want to see what are the records retrieved when the SQL engine joined that table 2 with table 3. Well, unfortunately, if you have one single lengthy select statement, well, you need to write individual statement again to find out what is the records retrieved by individual joins. So if you have a lengthy select statement, if you use the derived table, you can compartmentalize the code. I mean, I'm going to show you an example for that. I'm going to make this as an example. So here I have 3 tables I'm using. One is the derived table, then 2 persistent table, right? So if I want to compartmentalize this code, my suggestion is that I am going to make the inner join between sales order header and sales order detail as another derived table. This one I'm going to make it as another derived table called as T2, and then we will join T1 and T2. Let me write the statement, then it's going to be very clear to you. Okay. So this is our first derived table. Now inner join, open the bracket. I'm going to write the next derived table, which is select star. For now, I'm going to put a star from and the column which I want to select is I want to select everything from sh. So it's h dot star. Then I want to display a couple of them from the line item. So sd dot product ID, sd dot unit price. What else? Probably that is fair enough. All right. So this is going to be my second derived table, and I'm going to call it as T2. Okay. And what is going to be the join? Normally, when you perform an inner join, after the inner join, you are expecting a regular table, right? In place of that, I have a derived table. So now, after that derived table T2, now we need to specify the join criteria between T1 and T2, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to say on T1 dot salesperson ID equals T2 dot salesperson ID. All right. Where now we only want to display guys with the number 1 status, right? So we need to say T1 dot. All right. Now if I execute this, you get the same 48,302 records. Now, do you think this statement is more readable than this one?
Yeah.
Right. And the most important thing, it is 2 different compartments. This is one compartment. This is another compartment. Now, if you want to test, if I want to do troubleshooting, and if you want to see, okay, how many records are retrieved by this combination of sales order header and sales order detail, you can just highlight that and execute it. That's going to give you the result. But if I want to see what is the combination of these two here, I want to execute, can I execute that individually? No. So that's advantage of derived table. The derived table is going to add, look, the compartmentalization concept into your lengthy code. So that advantage of compartmentalization is better readability, easy maintenance, and individual execution of statements in each compartment.
Right now, we saw the advantages of the derived table. Have you ever encountered any disadvantage?
No.
For using
you will see
too much.
Derived table is one of the most popular thing you will use. Especially, I mean, if you are trying to develop an application, you know, you're constantly writing in the like a insert, update, delete, we are not worried about. But when you start working on data warehousing databases, when you start working on reporting, particularly where you're pulling records from n number of tables. So at any situation where you're trying to retrieve large volume of record from large number of tables, well, I prefer to go for derived table. Again, it is going to give you better readability and testing purpose. I love derived table, because when you are trying to join 10-15 tables and you are not getting the right result, you have no idea which table is not, or which join is not right. So if you go for the derived table, that is what the best thing you can do for readability and maintainability, and you will see tons of statements like this when you get into the production environment.
Performance wise?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Then what exactly basically signifies the drive table? What are the key features to notice that we're using a drive table?
The key features where what the derived table is, derived table can be used to, if you want to filter records based on a dynamic column, derived table is your choice. If you have a large SQL statement, select statement with a multiple inner joins and outer joins, I will go for the derived table. That is going to increase the readability, maintainability, and the testing features of that statement. So these are the reasons why I go for derived tables.
And this is
the efficiency, the performance efficiency will be low, right? There's a lot of select statements.
No, I mean, it's pretty much it's going to be the same. Only difference is that it might not be using the indexes properly. Now you can also add additional indexes. That's another point we need to discuss when we talk about the indexing. This is going to have some slight performance issues because straight away it is not going to use the available indexes optimally, but there are workarounds where you can make sure that the indexes will be used. So if you do it properly along with the index, you won't see any performance issues, and plus it is going to give you all these additional features.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, Yusuf. Using union derived table, I have done a lot with the reference cursor. Excellent. I have done that a lot with the reference cursors. Yes. Using. Okay. All right. Got it. All right. So that is the derived table. The next topic I want to discuss is, I don't want to go for pivoting. I want to do that first thing next class. Let's go for grouping set. So the group by clause we have seen in the previous class. In one single group by, how many different ways you can group? Can you group it based on two different ways? I'm not talking about the number of columns in a group by clause. In one single select statement, can you perform two groups?
No, just one.
Only one.
Only one. But that group can have multiple columns. That's a different story. But if you want to group records based on, if you want to group the same record set multiple ways, then the option available is called as grouping set. So let's take a look at the grouping set. My requirement is list the number of addresses for city. Okay, I will complete that requirement. Let me see the table first. So I want to see the total number of addresses. Okay. Now address information is stored in select star from
person.address.
Person.address, right? Person.address. So you're doing the labs. Good. Person.address. So address is a third word, so you need to put a square bracket around it. All right. Okay, so 19,614 records. Okay, so the total number of address is 19,600 and so on. So now my requirement is that list the number of addresses for individual city and state combination and the state. So I have three requirements here. List the number of addresses for each city and state. List number of addresses for each state. Copy this. All right. So I want to sort the record in three different ways, or group the records in three different ways. I want to find the total number of addresses altogether. Then I want to find the total number of addresses for individual state. Now I want to find the total number of addresses for each city and state. how do I, so I need to group it in three different ways, right? One is the total number of addresses, then I need to group it based on the state. Now I want to group it based on the city and state. So in one single statement, how you can group records in three different ways. For that one, we need to use the grouping set. Now, if you look at the state, state is the state ID. Now, if I want to get the actual name of the state, I need to do a inner join here. So let me do that. Okay. So if I want to get the state description, inner join. What was the name of that table? Just a second. State province. Okay. I'm going to say sp on sp dot state ID equals a dot state ID, state province ID. All right, and then so that's going to give you that information. So in the select statement, all right, so let's start working on it. Now, if I want to group it based on just I want to see the total number of record, then it is going to be very simple.
Group by.
No, you don't need to even say group by. If I want to see the total number of addresses, then I can just say
Count.
Okay.
Right? So that's going to give me the total number of addresses. Here we go. 19,614. Now, if I want to find the total number of addresses for individual state and city, then that's going to be group by. State is going to be sp dot name, I guess, name of the state. And then I want to also want to include the city as well, right? A dot city. Now include that here. Now if I execute, and I also want to order it based on this. All right, so now if I execute this, this is going to give me the total number of addresses for each combination of state and city. Any questions so far?
Can you explain that one more time?
You mean this one?
Yes.
Yeah, we are trying to find, this is a simple, straightforward group by clause. I mean, we are trying to find the total number of addresses for each combination of state and city, right? We haven't started the grouping set yet. I mean, this is just like trying to satisfy a requirement using three different statements.
Okay, the first one is for just the state.
Right. This is for irrespective of the state or
general, everything.
Everything, right.
Oh, that's okay. That's
Daniel.
Okay.
Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah. What you went back to the table to go and get the state's provinces. Why do you have to do that? Because I don't know why you have to go back there to go get.
Because if you look at if in the person.address table, let me do a select statement here to show that. So select star from person.address. The person.address contains the state, but it is only the ID value. So by looking at that ID value of 79 or 80, you have no idea what that state is, right?
Okay.
So I want to get the corresponding description or the name for that state. So if I want to get the corresponding name, the name is stored in a different table, which is person.state province, and that's why I put that. I need to.
Yeah. So like somebody like me now. So if I am confused, where do I have to go to do that? And what are the steps? Because I have to know what I'm looking for.
Right.
Because
so
you know that.
Yes, I mean that is one of the dilemma if you start working on a database brand new, irrespective of how many years experience you have. When you start working on a brand new database which you are not really familiar with, the first challenge is where to find data, right? So
Yes.
that's something most likely most of the cases nowadays there is going to be a documentation assuming that, or if the tables are properly named, it's very easy in the adventure work because tables are properly named. The only situation you will get really frustrated is if you don't have any documentation of your database explaining, what information stored in which table, and your tables are not properly named. If you come across a database with a table name ABC123XYC 456, then it is going to be a great challenge to identify where you can find data which you are looking for. In
But
that
each
scenario,
employer always
you only thing you can do is that you can, you can use a best judgment, query the table and identify the data you're looking for. But I would
Daniel,
say yes.
most companies will give you a document whenever you start working with them to let you know, understand how the database and everything is being positioned, right?
Yes, I mean nowadays, most. I mean, we have. I would say any database developed after 2000. I mean, most of these companies have coding practices and quality, assurance. So, I mean, any database developed after 2000, I wouldn't see a reason why there is no documentation for that.
Okay.
When I worked in, in mainframe era, and I worked on a lot of Y2K projects around 2000, and these DB2 databases for mainframe. Only God knows, what is what is there in that table, and what is the column name. That was a pain in the neck. But now everything is improved, better quality, better design, so it is easy. Yes.
Daniel, I have a quick question about the group by. Can you use without inner join? I mean, only one. I mean, from
Yeah, you
one.
can. Yes, that is perfectly fine. You can. If you don't want to use the inner join, that's fine. But the only problem is that then you are not going to see what is the name of the state. You will be ending up with the ID of the states. Like instead of the name, you need to display the 7685. You have no idea what that IDs mean.
So by default, we should inner join. I mean, we used to another.
Yes,
I
if
mean,
you
we
want,
used
I mean, if you want to get the state name, then definitely you need to do that inner join. Then the name column of that state province table is what we need to use, so that's going to give you a better, readable result. Mhm. All right. Now, if I want to find the total number of records for individual state, right? That's the next one, right? So if I want to find the total number of records in individual state, well, you need to take out the city and take out the city from the group and order by. So if I execute this, well, you can see how many addresses are there
Alabama,
for
Alabama,
Alabama, Alberta,
Kevin.
Arizona. So that's going to give you these the three select statement combined together going to satisfy your requirement. But I don't want to write these three select statements separately. I want to write one single select statement, which is going to give the record sort or grouped in all these three different ways. For that one, we need to use the grouping set. Before I continue, let me answer your question. Yes, what is your question?
Daniel, I have a question. In the last column, no column name, what is displayed in that number?
Oh, this is the number of addresses. I forgot to put that.
Means in the Alberta there are 25 addresses, right?
Right,
In that way?
right. Alabama, you have total of 7. Alberta, 25. Arizona, 18. Right? That's what it is. All right. So now we need to combine this. We don't want to write all these, end up three different group by clause. And so instead of that, you can write one single statement which is going to perform all these three grouping. So the way you can do that is, where's my grouping set? So your first statement is pretty much like the same. Now group by. So instead of saying group by, you need to use you still need to say group by, but after the group by, normally after the group by, you will specify the columns. But if you are using a grouping set, then you say group by. Then after that, you are not going to list your columns. Instead of that, you will say a grouping set. Please mute a microphone. Some kind of a noise coming through. Please mute a microphone. Thanks. Praveen, you have been unmuted. Grouping sets. Now you need to specify the list of groups you want to implement here. So what is going to be my first group? My first group is going to be city and state, right?
City and state.
All right. So this is going to be the first group. Second one.
Only city.
City.
Only city. I mean only state.
Sorry, only state, yes.
Okay.
And the last one is?
Address.
Just all the addresses. So I'm not looking for any particular column, just display all the addresses, irrespective of state and city. And now I want to sort it based on, order it based on state and city. So I put an order by clause. So this is what that grouping set is. Instead of grouping, normally when you say group by using one single grouping set, you say group by followed by the column names. But if you want to group the same record in multiple ways, then after the group by, you say grouping set, open the bracket. Inside that bracket, you need to specify all the different sets you want to use for the grouping. So this particular statement is going to be grouped in 3 different ways, and we are going to see the result now. Now, if I execute this statement, how about this one?
Daniel.
This is the result of?
Daniel?
Yes?
Total number.
The total number of addresses altogether, right? So this is the first record generated here is the result of this grouping set. Irrespective of the state and city, the total number of addresses is 19,614. Any question on that?
Yeah, I have a question, please. Can you go up a little bit where the query is?
Sure.
Okay, where was the address column in this query?
Well, we are not looking for the address column. We are only looking for the total number of addresses.
Oh, okay.
We are not looking for the address.
You already put cans here.
Yes.
Okay, I saw the first line, cans all as number. Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Daniel, you put name twice. Is there a reason why you did that under groupings? Yes, sir.
Okay, because what is this sp.name is nothing but the state name, right? I want to, in one group, the first group is that I want to find the total number of addresses for state and city combination. So this is going to give me the state and city combination. And for each city and state, it is going to find the total number of records, right? Then I want to find the total number of addresses just based on the state. That's why I say sp.name.
Got you. Thank you so much.
You will see that result here. So the first record, this is the result of this grouping set, the total number of addresses. Now, how about the second one? Alabama null 7. What does that mean?
Total address in Alabama?
Total
State
addresses.
name.
Yes, state name. The total number of addresses in Alabama, right? So that is the result of this grouping set. So Alabama is having total of 7 addresses, and we can verify that because the record number 3 to 7. This is going to give you the total number of records for individual city in Alabama. So if you add this 2 plus 1, 3 plus 2, 5 plus 1 plus 1, that is equivalent to 7. Right?
Yes, correct.
Right. So if you look at the first 7 record here, you can see three different grouping set group by results. The first record is going to be the first grouping set. The second one is going to be the sp.name. The record number 3 to record number 7. This is the result of this grouping set.
Daniel?
Yes.
Can you write that grouping set in a reverse order?
Reverse order means, oh yeah, I mean the way it is been displayed based on the way you are ordering it. I mean, you can display it in whichever way you want.
Okay.
So if you want to do it on a reverse order, that is going to be, let me see, what's the best way we can do that? Yes, what's your question?
Actually, Daniel, you know what? It's like executing down to up. Like first it is executing single bracket, then it's sp.name and then sp.name.
No, it's actually because I explicitly put an order by clause. Display the sp.name and city order. So whatever the null values always display at the top, right? So the record with a sp.name and city is null, that is going to be displayed. But if I take out that order by clause, and now if I execute this, it is going to display the same order in which you put the grouping set. It is going to find the different combinations of city and state, and then you can see. So these are the first 5 records is going to show the total number of city in Alabama and then corresponding addresses. The 6th record there is going to show me the total number of records in Alabama altogether. Then if you scroll all the way down, it's going to show the total number of records.
Okay, got it.
All right. Clear, guys? What is a grouping set?
Yes.
Lapo, do you have a question to Lapo?
No.
Okay. All right. So the next one, which is available, the lag and lead. Lag and lead is a new statement available from SQL Server 2012 onwards, and this is very, very useful, especially for reporting purpose. So I believe we have 20 more minutes. We can cover that. Oh, we forgot to take a break, right? Nobody reminded me. All right. Too late.
The class was interesting, that's why.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know
Praveen, I couldn't hear you. Can you speak a little bit louder, Praveen?
No, I said, okay, I know we're learning a bunch of things now, right? When we're starting, assuming we get employed in an industry and we started, we assume to like know everything that we're learning on the fly, or you know, do we have?
Nobody is expecting that you know the syntax, everything, but when you do the labs and attending my training, you know that these kind of options are there. Now, if you come across a situation where you want to, put some kind of a rank, well, you immediately know that there is a ranking feature available in SQL Server. Now, if you do not know the syntax, that is perfectly fine. Nobody is going to ask you the syntax in interviews. Okay, but since you know that it is there, you can investigate further and get the syntax, or you can refer back to the videos or the materials I'm providing. So that's not a big deal. It's all about the concept. As long as you understand the concept, you know that these concepts can be implemented, then that is I would say 60% of the job is done there.
Great. Okay.
All right. Hold on a second. Let me open a file here. Okay. Where is my lag and lead? 2005. All right. So in order to discuss the lag and lead, I am going to add a new table called as revenue table here. Yes. Do you have a question?
Yeah. In the previous example, is there any way that we can display those three grouping statements in different columns in the display set?
Can you elaborate that requirement a little bit more?
Is there any way that we can display those three grouping statements, like the solution for the first name and the city in one column, and the name in the next column?
If you want, you can do that. If you, I mean, instead of displaying 6 records for no, how do you want to do that?
Yes, instead of 6, can we do 5 and 1 or something like that in the next
No,
column?
unfortunately, in the grouping set, that option is not there.
Okay.
No, I don't think it is possible. No, it is not. I mean, I was thinking about like using another on top of this grouping set, whether you could able to do the pivoting, but unfortunately, I don't think it's not possible. I can give you a defined answer tomorrow.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
It's 10:45. My brain is not working anymore.
All of ours is it.
All right. So let's continue here. So I'm going to create a new table called as revenue table, simple table with a department ID, revenue, and the year. All right. So that table is created in AdventureWork database. Now I'm going to insert a couple of records here. That table. I'm creating this table and inserting record to show you the example for lag and lead. Okay. If you want to practice it, you can also do the same thing. It's going to be in the worksheet. All right, records inserted. Now let's take a look at what is there in this table. So if you look at this table, you can see there is going to be 3 departments. For each, there's going to be 3 departments, and for these 3 departments, I'm storing the revenue from year 1998 all the way to 2012. Okay, 3 departments, and these 3 departments is having revenue stored here from 2008 to 2012. Great. Now my requirement is I want to find the revenue generate I want to generate a report showing the revenue for department 1. Very simple. List revenue for department. Come on. Department 1. So it's very simple, right? Select star from revenue where
department equals 1.
Why my okay where
department ID.
So department ID. Yeah, department ID
equals 1.
Department ID equals 1. It's typo. Let's fix that. All right. Okay. So this is going to satisfy my requirement. All right. And then if I want to order it based on order by the year, here is a result word. So put that around. It's a function actually. So I put that. All right. You got the result. Now, I mean, I'm okay with this, but in addition to displaying the current year revenue for each record here, right? This is a revenue 10030 is the revenue for 1998. Well, in addition to the current year revenue for each record, is there any way I can display the previous year revenue too in the same record set? That means I need to add one more column, and for second record, I need to display the previous year revenue as this value. For third record, I want to display the previous year revenue as 20,000. So is there any way I can display the previous year revenue value in the same record?
You use the group in?
No.
I'm sorry, I actually didn't understand that question.
Okay, so I mean, this is going to display the revenue for department number 1 from 1998 to 2012. I'm fine with that. Now, if I also want to, for each record, I also want to display the previous year revenue. What is going to be the, for year 1999, what is going to be the previous year revenue?
10030.
30. Well, I want to display that as a separate column here. How do I do that? For that one, we need to use.
That's the lag and lead.
We need to use the lag function. All right. So let's take a look at the lag function. It's very similar to the rank. Very simple. So you display all the columns here. Let me hard code the value because then it's going to be. So the first one is going to be the department ID. Then second one is going to be the revenue. I'm going to call this revenue as current year revenue. All right. Now I want to display the year. Now along with this, so let me quickly execute this. So this is the result you see. Now I want to display the previous year revenue. So if I want to display the previous year revenue, I want to include that. I want to do that by using that. Please mute a microphone. Noise coming. Please mute a microphone. Right. Muhammad, please mute a microphone.
What is the meaning of lag?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Let me show you the result and then I will explain more. So if I execute this, you see that a new column added here, which is the result of the lag. And then you can clearly see that for record number 2, it is displaying 10010,030 as the previous year revenue. That is true, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So 20,000 here, 20,000 here. And the first record, there is no previous record prior to 1998. So the last year revenue is null, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Now let's take a look at what this lag function is. So lag.
Daniel.
Yes.
Why are you using here as a function?
Why am I using?
Here as a function.
Here is when you do the lab research paper number 2, one of the built-in function in SQL Server is year. For example, if I want to find, if I want to extract.
But this order by year is a column, right?
Yeah, that's why I put a square bracket. I'm telling the SQL engine that this is not the function.
No. Up here, lag revenue over order by and year.
Oh, you need to put that in the square bracket. I'm sorry. Not the function. That's a column.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the lag, I'm saying the lag means when you say lag, you're telling the SQL engine, okay, get me a value from one of the previous record. That is what the lag means. Okay. Now lag, which columns previous value need to be retrieved? That is a revenue. Revenue columns previous value need to be retrieved. Now, when you say lag followed by a column name, it's always going to refer back to the previous record's column value. So what is going to be for record number 2, what is the previous value for revenue? 10030, right? Now, if I want to read the 2 records prior value, by default, it is always going to be 1 record prior value. But if I want to go and read 2 records prior value, you have that option. You say 2. Let's take a look. If I want to select, or maybe I can add it as a separate column here. So if I want to display not only the last year revenue, the revenue prior to that, then you can say 2. Now if I execute this, you will be seeing one more column here. Did you see that?
Yes.
All right. So you
Daniel,
can.
why you are not getting error? Because 2 column name is same. Last year revenue.
That's fine. The dynamic column, you can certainly, a table can have, for the display purpose, you can have 2 columns with the same name. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
To differentiate it, if I put that 1 and 2. All right. So along with the lag, you can specify how long it need to lag. Whether it's by default, it is going to be just the previous record, but you can always specify how many records back it can need to go and read the record. So that option is always there. Now, so the syntax for that is lag followed by which column you need to lag, and then over, then followed by order by year. Because the order by year specifically say, okay, which record, because if you don't specify the order by year, then for example, when it's trying to process this record number 10, there are going to be 10 different records. Then SQL engine it doesn't have any idea which records value need to be fetched. So you also need to specify what is going to be the order in which the record is going to be sorted, and based on that it is going to go back and read the previous record.
Daniel?
Yes.
I have a question regarding the lag revenue too. Can we give by ourselves, or what's the number 2 is represented? I mean,
you mean the 2 here?
Revenue, lag revenue.
The 2 means go and read the revenue value 2 records prior. When I say lag of 2 for record number 3, it is going to read 2 records prior value, which is 10030. So by default it is going to be 1. So this is equivalent to 1, but normally if it is 1 you don't need to say that. But if you want to go for anything other than 1, then you need to specifically say what that lag is.
I have a question here.
Yes.
Right now we are giving a condition of the department ID equals to 1. What happens if we don't give any condition?
We are getting there. That's the next step.
Okay.
We can discuss that. We don't have the time today, but we will be discussing that in tomorrow's class.
Not a problem.
Now, this is always. Hold on a second. Let me finish this, and then I will take your question. Okay. Now, it is always a good thing, if you want to display the previous record value, that's good. But most of the time, you use this lag to find the difference between the previous year value and the current year value. For example, every record you display here, I want to display the current year revenue, and then I also want to display the difference between the previous year revenue and current year revenue. So if my requirement is that if I want to find the difference between the previous year revenue and the current year revenue, the only thing we need to do is, if I want to find the revenue difference for each year, I want to find the revenue difference. How do I do that, guys? Oh, come on. Revenue minus?
Minus revenue 1.
Right, not the revenue 1.
Last year.
Right.
Last.
So this is going to be the previous year revenue. Right. So if I execute this, you can see the revenue difference. I can say that as revenue, right? Revenue difference. All right. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. But one question is, after the on the equation revenue minus lag revenue, instead of using that, can we use the column name last year?
You mean
revenue?
the dynamic column name?
Dynamic column name, yeah.
Let's take. I never tried that. We can certainly check it out. So if I want to put that here, I doubt it, but we can certainly try. Now it is. You can see that red scribbling. No, you cannot do that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Daniel, I'm sorry, I missed the lag feature. What exactly are we using the lag for?
The lag is used to retrieve a value from the previous record.
Okay.
That's what the lag is.
Appreciate it.
Now, if you give me 2 more minutes, I can explain the lead to. It's very similar. If I want to retrieve the previous year revenue, the next year revenue, okay, or if you want to retrieve something from the next record, that is when I can use the lead value. For example, here I want to display the current year revenue, the previous year revenue, and the next year revenue. Then copy this and then change the lag to lead. and I can say that next year revenue. All right, so if I do that, and then for next year lead also, you can, by default it is 1, but if you want to read the two records ahead, you can say what that number is. So if I execute this, you can see this is the current year revenue, this is the last year revenue, and this is the next year revenue. You can see the next year revenue same here, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the revenue difference between the previous year and current year, that is also here.
So in the next year revenue column, at all the way at the bottom, records is going to be null, right?
Yes. So if you go to the last record, yes, next year revenue, the last record, next year revenue column is going to be null. Now, in this example, we are only dealing department number 1. Okay. Now, next class, we are going to see if I want to calculate all these things for multiple department, what would be the best way to approach that? So that's going to be next thing. And I know that we still need to cover 2 functions, the length function and the replicate function. We will be covering that in the next class. Okay. It's in my list. All right. So that is all for tonight. And the next class is going to be Sunday at 9 p.m. Sunday at 9 p.m. So a couple of things. Finish all the labs. You will be getting the research paper number 2 is already uploaded. And what else? I'm going to give a lab exercise for the advanced T-SQL. I'm going to put lab exercise, and you can try to do as much as you can because we haven't covered the entire. We still need to cover how many topics still need to be covered. We need to cover the pivoting, common table expression, sequence, right? So these 3 topics need to be covered. So I will put that lab exercise out there. If you want, you can take a look. Okay.
Sorry, I missed it. When the next class?
Next class is going to be Sunday.
Okay.
Sunday
I
night.
have one.
Are you doing the research